I do think that there are some common sense things that you can do before you embark on a risky activity. And I didn't find this document until my friend Courtney Herman pointed it out to me after I was arrested. But there is a document called, let's see, I have it on my desktop. It's something like dangerous docs or speaking truth to power. Anyway, it's
dangerous docs speaking truth to power.
Yeah, remind me, and I'll look it up afterwards.
I will, and I'll have that. What I'll do is I'll put that up on the show notes at the website.
Yeah, it's worth a read.
Okay.
And I think having things lined up ahead of time in terms of having a public presence for your project, if at all possible, I was very happy that I already had a page on my website up about the project I was doing. At the time that I was arrested, I had already shown clips at Doc Camp to people. I had certainly been seen at a lot of different protests around the area with my camera filming for the past year. So it was obvious that, yes, indeed, I was making a film. It was obvious also that, yes, indeed, I am a filmmaker because I have 20 years of experience and a resume that was also online.
Right.
And that was actually a crucial thing when I went up for my arraignment. The prosecutor was trying to make arguments to the judge that I shouldn't be allowed to leave the state of Washington. And my lawyers made sure that my resume was in front of the judge. Then the prosecutors were, insinuating that I wasn't a real media maker, that I was just part of this conspiracy.
Of course.
So the judge is looking at my resume in front of him and says, "Oh, she looks like she's real to me. She's been doing this for 20 years." So, I mean, I think it's degrees of danger. And if you're a first-time filmmaker without any history and without a website and without any presence, it's more dangerous than if you're established and you have some kind of presence about your project.
That's a great point, Lindsey. That's a great point, because if you don't have that resume and it doesn't get in front of the judge in that fashion, you can be looked at in a different sort of light, because it can be easy for someone to paint you, as we know in the legal system a certain way. And if the prosecutor is saying, "Hey, look, this is just some crazy person with a camera. They're just getting in the way, or they're clearly like a part of this process. This is what they're doing," then it becomes. You make it less easy to be painted in a certain light if you have obviously some background that you can, and some clout that you can put in front of a judge, I guess.
Right. The other concrete piece of information that I would recommend is having a lawyer set up ahead of time. I had consulted with lawyers in Oregon, but because this action was in the state of Washington, that was no good to me.
Okay.
I had to find a new lawyer in Washington. And that week before I had a lawyer was really stressful.
Wow.
So,
I'll bet it was. How do we find these lawyers, Lindsey?
I was very lucky. I found an amazing lawyer who worked for me pro bono, and it was really friends and family putting the word out. And I lucked into him. And when I talked to him, I knew he was the right person, and he took my case right away. I was very lucky.
Okay. And how about you, Deia?
I did want to add on to the last point and say, even though like being an established filmmaker mitigates the risk you take in filming something like this, it's certainly not only the right of journalists and media to cover these events. I think what Standing Rock taught us was the importance of people on the ground covering things and doing live broadcasts. And so much of the information that we got from there was just people live streaming with their phones. And because the media was not there, that's the only way people knew about what was happening. And there was documentation of the human rights abuses going on, like the hoses and below freezing temperatures, and
right, of course.
And that is within their First Amendment rights as well. And
I
think we have to be careful about saying that you need to make sure that your journalistic credentials are in place, because that I don't want to discourage people, everyday people, from documenting and being on public property and being fully within their legal rights.
Well, and it's a tricky thing. I think it's a tricky thing, Deia, because I agree with you 100%, and I'm all about it, about what you're saying. I just think it's great on paper and it's great in theory, but in practice, it's a different situation. That doesn't mean we shouldn't fight for it. Because that's what we're here for. We need to be pressing that.
Yeah.
We need to be pushing that, which I think is a big part of your point.
And that, all that said, it is important for people to know that there is a risk. There's a greater risk that they will be swept up in arrests and stuff if they partake and they don't have the long resume. But
and if you know ahead of time, you can team up with someone who does have that experience, right? You can at least put a website up there that talks about what you're doing.
Yeah.
Something.
So know what you're getting into.
I mean, the striking thing about my own institution is that the world is ending right now. Nobody has an idea what to do, and there's no debate about it. Mostly it's thought of in terms of failure of politicians, or the venality of the fossil fuel companies, or the unfortunate stupidity of the public at large, or something else. It's never, well, maybe we're just fucking up, which is what we're doing.